I wanted a perfect ending. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme, and some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it, without knowing what's going to happen next. Delicious ambiguity. Hello, and welcome to Cross Street Chapel's Sunday Worship. Those were the words of Gilda Radner, who I'll speak of a little bit later in our sermon. But they're, I think, beautiful sentiment, that sense that life involves the unknowing. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. So welcome to Cross Street Chapel's worship. It's 10:45 as this is currently being recorded. You might be able to hear the bells from my neighboring church, at least, that will carry on for about another 10 or so minutes. But I'm grateful for your time and presence here, whether in the live stream in our community or if you're listening later on. I hope that you will find fulfillment, some nourishment at this time. If you've come here looking for a space to rest with some sorrow and tears, I hope we can provide that for you. If you've come joyous and filled with laughter and excitement, then I hope this space can provide that for you as well. Perhaps there's a few words of wisdom that you come seeking, and I hope they'll be heard. Or perhaps you've come just to rest with the divine. Whatever it is that you seek here and now, I hope it may be found. We come together in our worship with the words of Sophia Leon Faz as we light our chalice. You might have a chalice of your own, and I hope that you might have a tea light or an electric light. I hope that whatever you have, even if it's just that inner light within, that spark of inspiration and encouragement, I hope that you can turn to that, recognize its worth and value, and in that turn recognize your worth and value. So here are the words of the Reverend Sophia Leon Faz. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life, the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together, so close yet so apart, each hidden in our own secret chamber, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. We gather in reverence before all intangible things. The eyes see not, nor ears can detect, that hands can never touch, that space cannot hold, and time cannot measure. Amen. The lighting of the chalice is a global ritual enacted by many Unitarian chapels across the world. We turn now to something a bit more intimate and personal for our own community, the recitation of our covenant. This is a covenant that was developed by the Cross Street community a few years ago. It certainly still speaks to me, and I hope it does you as well. So please recite it with me as it appears on the side. We gather here in sacred fellowship to witness the fullness of our lives and all life, to hold and be held, tell stories and listen, to be renewed and renew the world. We speak with care and patience. We act with gentleness and compassion. We forgive each other and ourselves. In faith that we build beloved community, we renew our covenant today. So we've moved from the global to the communal, and we take a turn now for the personal. So please join with me in these words of prayer by the Reverend Andrew Hill. Out of a troubled world of expediency and selfish strife, we come to this place set apart for the renewal of vision. Great unity beyond all difference. Should our lives be narrowed by personal sorrow or tragedy, envision us with the sense of worth. Should we be weary of the diminishing purpose of community and the persistence of global conflicts, envision us with your larger purpose. Should we feel lost upon Earth's lonely cosmic shore, envision us with joy and wonder. Uphold us when weak, embrace us when broken, transform us when partial. Restore to us your great unity, that we and the green earth and the cosmic law may become as one. Great unity, bless us now in the moment of worship with your commanding vision. Amen. We turn now to a hymn, so you have a chance to sing along. I will mute myself so I don't overpower the sound of the Unitarian Music Society. This is the hymn A Dream of Widening Love, with words by the Reverend Frank Claiborne, music by William Monk, based on chorale by Johann Kruger. We have two readings now. The first is from the Anglo-Italian explorer and travel writer Freya Stark, from her collection Perseus in the Wind, and then it's followed by the Sufi writer Irina Tweedy. Some people, out of strength or weakness, come to love such solitude as the breadth of life. Many strangers to their own souls shun it with fear, but the well-strung creature finds in it a tonic, a pause from which they come refreshed. With the mountain air still in their eyes and feet, they are happy to return from the wilderness and to find themselves again among the paths and dwellings and habits, the rites and symbols, which in their long trail of history have made them what they are. Of course, there's always some that object to silence, especially 3-year-olds. And now a few words from Irina Tweedy. The realization that every act, every word, every thought of ours not only influences our environment, but mysteriously forms an integral part of the universe, fits into it as if by necessity, in the very moment we do or say or think it, is an overwhelming and even shattering experience. If we only knew deeply, absolutely, that our smallest act, our smallest thought, has such far-reaching effects, setting forces in motion, reaching out to the galaxy, how carefully we would act and speak and think. How precious life would become in its integral oneness. Words of Irina Tweedy, preceded by some words of Freya Stark's Perseus in the Wind. I used to, and this is a point of deep confession, mind you, have difficulty with the wooliness of things. I preferred clear-cut answers, observations, bold colors that one could measure precisely their length and breadth, and where one knew exactly when one ended and another began. I'm not sure whether I've changed, and I'm not sure how this anxiety was manifested in the first place, or in certain parts of my life. But when I reflect on my childhood, there is one image which continually recurs: my mother's plants. My mother is an avid gardener and tends a beautiful collection of flowers and trees in her home. It's a passion that has encompassed parts of her working life and certainly made my childhood more beautiful and, dare I say, more fruitful. It's an interest that she has passed on to her son. Not me, her other son, I should say. I have not demonstrated a propensity for plant keeping, but my brother has kept up the tradition. Me, I observe the plants. I know their value, and I'm grateful that others have green fingers that generate such beauty. So returning to my story, I can remember a feeling of distress when looking at the plants in those small plastic trays, the ones you get at the shops, with their tendrils and their radicals dripping out from the holes underneath. I thought that this was some form of excess pouring out of the plant, rather than an integral part, necessary for its roots to push through the earth in search of water and nutrients. Thinking this image of unkempt rootlets was unfortunate, I remember on at least one occasion I went so far as to actually cut off the tendrils, trying to leave a neat appearance within the store-bought box, trying to keep the plant inside the tray. It's a small illustration, but in reflection strikes me how a child might seek to resolve this uncertainty in life. Maybe there was some impatience, and getting the plants to bed sooner would have meant I hadn't shared their roots. Maybe the rootlets represented something more significant to me, some other element in my life that seemed confusing or unresolvable, and I hoped that changing one would affect the other. Maybe I was simply acting out. And of course, maybe it was just what it was. We've started now the period of Lent, which for many people is a time of fasting, sacrifice, and reflection. Some of my friends and colleagues have given things up. Some have decided to substitute bad habits for good, and some have added something to their lives. Last year, of course, we were in this process of contemplative development when lockdown secluded us further. If we ever needed a current illustration of the anxiety of uncertainty, last year would be ideal. Anyway, I have not made an active choice about giving something up, or changing something, or adding anything, other than a gentle reminder, which I hope is often there, to rest more with the divine. without having the benefit of traveling like Freya Stark. I hope I can witness her description of solitude. Tonic, a pause from which they come refreshed. In her writing, the traveler encounters this when set away from humanity amidst the cool mountain air. The paradox that she illustrates is that by setting our life's habits aside, we are refreshed, made new. And yet the return, in her words, is to the habits that have made us what we are. We become ourselves through our life's actions, but sometimes we need to pull away, rejoin that woolly, natural world to encounter a deeper truth about who we are. Neither this epiphany of our soul nor the development of our character are untrue. So much is written about whether we should focus on being or doing. Our doing creates our being, and our being guides our doing. Do we go into nature to escape ourselves or encounter ourselves? Stark seems to fall on the side of being in nature, being with God, being alone. Irina Tweedy describes the doing in life, the smallest action and thoughts and words having far-reaching consequences on our neighbors. So we should mind what we do. And amidst it all, the confusing paradox of being and doing and who we are and what we do, amidst all of that, we have the wisdom of tragedy. Gilda Radner, a great comedian, one of the founding members of Saturday Night Live, died from ovarian cancer in 1989 when she was 42. We opened our service with her words. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme, some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it, without knowing what's going to happen next. Her comedy was rooted in observing the world and pointing out its absurdities, its confusion, the woolliness that it had. We might rail against this confusion, but rarely will life straighten itself out on our account. So with our time, let us continue living, even as the world contests whatever order we seek to impose upon it. If for you this means foregoing something at Lent, I hope you will feel enriched. If instead you have added to your spiritual toolbox, I hope it will provide you comfort and growth. If you've decided to remain unaffected by Lent, I hope your life as it is will sustain you spiritually. I know now that the tendrils at the end of the roots, as messy as they appear, are vital to the growth of a plant. The radicals, pushing earth aside in search of life-sustaining nutrients and water. From our perspective, they may be untidy, but for the plant they are necessary. Just as the mountain air that refreshes us, and the invisible string that makes each action significant. Recall Gilda Radner's conclusion. Make the best of it, without knowing what's going to happen next. Delicious ambiguity. Amen. Thank you to Catherine and Aaron. We come now to a period of joys and sorrows where you can share events in your life, trials and triumphs. If you want to share these publicly, please type them into the live chat and I will read them out. If you have my mobile number, please do text me if you're not on the chat, which you do need a Gmail or YouTube account to participate in. If you prefer to hold your joys and your sorrows in your heart, know that your presence here is enough. And I wanted to begin with a candle of gratitude. Yesterday, I had the first COVID vaccine, and I am grateful for the NHS as well as my family who were able to help make it possible. So thank you. From William. My daughter has just moved out to a flat in Levenshulme. I am pleased for her, but it does feel like an empty nest. From Vicky. Sending love and wishes of health and well-being for Summer, Grace, Sally, and Alex, all of whom are currently unwell in Australia. From Alan. A candle of joy for the signs of spring. The earth is waking up. From Catherine. A candle of gratitude that nearly all family have received their first COVID shots and for all the people involved in organizing it. Gratitude for the NHS looking after Tom following a fall and spending yet more time on the phone with me. From Adam. A candle for my relatives in Texas who are affected by the extreme weather there. From Tom. Age 3. From Campto. And we have 6 candles, so we hold this one in our hearts. I started classes at the University of London. They asked if I still want to do an MA this year, and I said yes. For all those joys and sorrows here spoken, and those that remain silently in our hearts. Let us turn now to a time of prayer. First, a candle for Sarah. A candle for my dad. He's having eye surgery tomorrow. As we encounter the crossroads in life and the decisions that relentlessly pursue us, let us stop and enjoy the uncertainty. So much feels sure at times. So let us not fall into quick judgments, but rather stop and enjoy the uncertainty. Through all our days and hours, almost endless without break, we are called upon to make decisions. May we hear a voice in us that says at times, "It can wait." Let us stop and enjoy the uncertainty. When a jug of dirty water is shaken, the grit obscures our view. But as it lies still, the sand settles, and we can drink with pleasure. When we look out upon a landscape, it may be dense with fog, battered with rain, and ripped apart by the wind. But the weather will calm. The clouds will part and the sun will shine. And as the fog dispels, we will know our way. So let us then enjoy the uncertainty. Amen. You now have a period of mindful meditation with a video prepared by Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. A few notices before we sing our hymn. If you are in need of pastoral care, or if you would like to provide an element for a service, or if you're interested in joining our mailing list, please write to minister@crossstreetchapel.org.uk. After today's service, we will, of course, be having a Zoom tea and coffee, to which you're more than welcome to join us. The details are on my side. And we are always grateful for any contributions that can help the mission of the chapel. You can donate at a Just Giving website, justgiving.com/Cross Street Chapel Manchester, all spelled out and all one word. Or if you wish to set up a standing order, please write to me, again, at minister@crossstreetchapel.org.uk. So we come now to our next hymn, Name Unnamed, with words by Brian Wren and music by David Dawson.
Glory
Thank you to Aaron for the music, Catherine for the meditation and video editing. And thank you to all of you for creating and sharing worship today. We close with the words of the Reverend E.L.H. Thomas, former minister of Cross Street Chapel, from his poem Nox Illuminatio. Apologies for the music. There is always, each week there's one little technical blip that we seem to resolve. So thank you again to Aaron, to Catherine, for all of you. And we close with the words of the Reverend E.L.H. Thomas. In seeming night, we have learned to know that kindred spirits shine with kindred rays. From darkness that is light, we too shall go, like them into the golden veiling haze. Leaving the world of space, recede from sight, recede into the fuller, spaceless light. Amen. Go in peace.